Ah, there we go, chat. I managed to be on time for once. Isn't it wonderful? I'm really proud of myself. There is a Romanian saying, though, if you don't congratulate yourself, then who will? So I need to give myself a pat on the back for being on time. Wish I would have cleaned up the camera lens as well. But you know what? Better late than never. So here we go. By the way, did you notice something interesting? There's a lot of corporations in America that deal with the subject of entertainment. And every single time they will say something in the lines of, we are making this for a modern audience. The times have changed, so we need to change as well. They are driving the change. Like, they are literally driving the change. They are the ones that decide, oh, well, this joke is the problem. Or GTA, for example. Apparently, GTA 6 is completely sanitized, from what I understand. Like, you're not going to find any political incorrectness in that game. I'm calling it now. It's going to be a major disappointment for GTA fans. I don't think it's going to be as bad as Saints Row. I think it will sell simply because it's GTA. Like, the way a powerful brand like GTA gets ruined is the same way like Star Wars. So the first thing that they release is going to be bought by people because they like the previous ones. But when people buy it and they notice it's shit, they're not going to buy GTA 7 whenever that comes out. So, yeah, it is what it is. I played Capcom's Street Fighter as well. My god. Capcom Street Fighter is very interesting because it's like trapped between woke and not woke. Like, you have some characters that are phenomenally woke. But at the same time, you have characters that are sexy. So I guess like they're trying to please both people. It's what they did with Resident Evil 4. They removed Ashley's skirt and they were like, oh, well, we're removing these offensive jokes and that offensive joke. But at the end of the day, they allowed modding. And they even added like jiggle physics. And you can see her hips wobble from the pudge. The little chubbiness, you know, like a little thickness, it wobbles if you look at the... And she has like an animation where she protects her skirt the same way that 2B does if you look under it. So like the developers knew. Apparently they got upset the moment someone made a naked mod of Ashley. Like that was too much. You're not allowed. But other than that, it was fine. Judy is actually good. Like, they did a nerf Judy. Well, apparently in Street Fighter 5, like, back in the day, she was supposed to have naked skin in her costume. She had these pants, but, like, part of her leg was visible, and they had to censor that. You could see cleavage as well. It's kind of interesting, because, like, they censored that, but then you have, like, Judy's bathing suit, and she's practically naked. Like, she just has a pair of underwear and a bra, and she's good to go. So, it is what it is. I do have to say, they have some really disturbing characters in Street Fighter 6 when it comes to how hard they are on the retina. I will not want to see bathing suits for them. It's going to be very interesting. The one thing with Street Fighter, I'll tell you this before we move on. They want to sell costumes. And I would be very curious to see how many people buy the costumes for the ugly characters. Because even Mortal Kombat, when it went woke combat, even Mortal Kombat realized, okay, well, we need to sell some sexy costumes, because otherwise people don't buy the DLC for the costumes. And it's the same thing with League of Legends. Like, League of Legends does not have ugly characters, even though there's massive pressure on it. They tried a couple of ugly characters, but then they stopped. It's for the same reason. Like, people do not buy the costumes. If you look at some of the best sold costumes in League of Legends, they're the sexy skins. So you can push a game that has, like, ugly characters like Mortal Kombat. You know, you can push it because people will buy it for the gameplay, but, like, no one is going to spend money on the skins. You stick to default skins on Street Fighter. Yeah, but, like, you don't make the statistic, man. You're not the one that's driving the market team. So apparently, this is a controversy which the internet doesn't really understand it. But ice cream van sets up outside of Auschwitz, and apparently it's fury over disrespectful trader. But like, notice how the fury doesn't really exist. Like the fury is online and in the media, but here I see people just go and buy ice cream. There's people on the internet that are saying, well, it's a depressing place. I guess, you need some happiness after you leave. The museum is furious because apparently it's not on museum grounds. And I'm looking at it and it's like, it's literally not on museum grounds. But they're hoping that the government will remove the ice cream. So, what I wanted to say about this interesting thing is that a person said something that makes sense. There is like the foundation mythos that every nation has, and the foundation mythos basically decides why things exist the way they exist, and why do people in power justify having power. And I don't really remember exactly step by step, but it was like many parts of the foundation mythos. For example, it used to be religion. Right, so like the foundation mythos is that it creates life, it breeds life, the difference between good and evil, right? So like you're fighting for good, and that type of thing. But our foundation mythos seems to be World War II. Like the reason the maps are drawn the way they are drawn, the institutions that we are having are World War II. The ultimate evil is Hitler and the Nazis, and the sacred thing, the one that you cannot under any circumstance talk against, is the Holocaust. And the problem with this is that the sacred mythos is upside down. Instead of something that breeds life, you have World War II, a thing of death and misery. The sacredness, being the Holocaust, is a perversion, right? Like a disgusting stain on human history that happened. And then instead of like, in order to ascend to good, it's like, no, the evil is the Nazis and the Hitler. So we're rooted in the past. And it's basically like a backwards foundation mythos that other countries do not have. It's not a mythos that's of purity, of niceness, of trying to be better, that type of thing. No, it's a mythos that's pretty much like a debauchery. It's not a positive one, basically. American Outlier, thank you for the $10. Hello V, hope you are doing well. Also, I think they are trying to do the slow drip method. Rest in peace, Shinzo Abe. Once his death, still think it was globalist in my opinion. The woke creepy into the national diet. Did Shinzo Abe die? I haven't followed the Japanese politics. But the thing with Japan, and I've been saying this before, a lot of people say, well, they are a bulwark against wokeness. But I kept saying, like, if you look at history, especially Japanese history, it's not that they are immune to Western ideology. It's that the ideology just gets slower to them, and they're slower in adopting it. So this is pretty much what's happening. It's like, it's not that Japan is not going to have wokeness. It's just that it takes a lot slower for them to adopt it. And from what I understand, it's penetrating their government, their corporations. It doesn't penetrate the people yet. Like, it's not grassroots. And this is a good thing because this is how you can actually stop wokeness. They tried it in Hungary, they tried it in Romania, and they tried it in Poland. And if the people themselves, like, literally reject the ideology, and by the people I mean, like, overwhelmingly, then the ideology doesn't happen. They tried it in Romania with sparking ethnic conflict between the Roma and the Romanians. And the problem is, like, the Roma do not see themselves as victims. Because I grew up in a neighborhood that had a lot of Roma people. And they view themselves, like the moment they manage to swindle someone, or the moment they manage to, like, if the government gives them welfare or something like that, I will tell you the mentality of the people that I grew up with, which I think is pretty similar in a lot of places because I spoke with other people. They basically believe that they have one up on you, right? Like they managed to be smarter, and they took advantage of the system, right? So if you call them a victim, they don't understand. It's like, what do you mean I'm a victim? Like I'm the swindler. I'm the guy that managed to convince the government to give me free stuff. Like I own the government, right? Like that's the mentality. They have the mentality of the person in charge, you know, the smart person in the room. They don't like to be called victims. And this is why social justice, the way it's done in America, just doesn't work in Eastern Europe. Like, you'd have to create a new version of social justice. You'd have to create, like, complete new ideology in order to try to subvert the people here. He was assassinated with a homemade shotgun. I thought that he survived, though. Like, I know that he got shot, but I thought he survived. I'm subbed to a Japanese journal channel, and they made a video bragging about their first trans politician about a year ago. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's the corporations and it's interesting because, like, Japan, if you look at their entertainment, you look at the anime and stuff, they have, like, trans people in anime, they have LGBT representation in anime. No one cares, right? Like, this is what I find hilarious. You have, like, the problem in the West. It's like, oh, look, this movie is coming out, and it's having, like, the first ever gay superhero or whatever. You know, like in Sailor Moon, you had gay people, and that's, like, what, the 90s? Sailor Mars and Sailor Uranus. No, Sailor Mars and Jupiter. They were gay. No one cared, right? Like, no one gave a shit. It wasn't in your face. No one sent any death threats, any criticisms on Twitter. No. Because the Japanese are doing it properly, right? Like, okay, the character happens to be gay, but that's not interesting. Like, let's talk about who they're fighting. Who's the villain? What are their superpowers? So on and so forth. Okay, apparently he died a few minutes after the scene. See, like, I should have followed the politics a little bit more closer. Holy shit. I drank it a little bit too fast. Did I make him? No, I didn't make a mess happen. Superbad was the first gay superhero. Why? Because he was wearing latex pants. Yuri is strong within me, but I cannot bring myself to not dislike the Western liberal representation. It's also damn cringe. It is. I mean, the thing is, like, I can't really think of any TV show right now that doesn't have gay people in it. It's like a checkbox at this point. It's not natural. It's not... I mean, there used to be stories with gay people that, you know, like, it felt natural. Gotham, I believe, had one. You had the Penguin and Edward Nygma. And they were gay, but, like, it had, like, a dynamic that there was a point. But if you look at the Arrowverse, where you have Mr. Fantastic and he's gay, and it's like, okay, like, and like it's just meant, like, literally the first thing he does, he just comes up and he talks, oh, so my husband and I, right, like, mentioning that he's gay. Like, I actually know gay people in real life, they don't do that. Like when you meet one of them, they don't tell you, hey, yeah, like, I'm gay, you know that? No, they don't act like that. It's kind of like me meeting and saying, oh, yeah, so today I'm going to fuck my wife. It just doesn't make sense, you know? Like, this is not how normal people speak. This is not how they act. And this is probably one of the main problems with a lot of woke ideology. If you look at the movies and the stuff that they're making, they do not know how to make dialogue. They do not know how to make a person speak like a human being. And that is actually a huge issue. Now, chat, stop doing what you're doing. I wanna show you something. I wanna make an experiment with you. Alright? So, tell me, this lady, what ideology is she being part of? Right? Like, just by looking, I'm not playing anything. I'm not giving. What ideology is she part of? I seen Hitler do this hand gesture, but no. Let me, like, it only takes for me to unmute 1 second of what she's doing, and you're immediately going to oh, okay. apparently it's not a loop. A lot of people were fact checking it, and they were trying to see, is this on a loop? Like, is it real? And they literally tried to analyze it from various perspectives. Like, is it an AI? No, she goes on and on like that for 1 minute straight. Apparently, she's a Democrat, Nebraska state senator. You know, like, if a right-winger acts like this, it would be on every single mainstream media outlet. People would make fun of them. They would be considered the laughing stock. But when a Democrat does it, and they behave like a child, like, sometimes they even get escorted out because they're like children, and they're called martyrs. And it's like, oh, look how horrible it is. Elena Ceausescu, welcome back. 12 months badge. All my dreams have been fulfilled. Well, thank you for being here for 1 year. The wife of the dearly departed dictator. You can't hear it? What do you mean you can't hear it? Well, if you can't hear it, I will say. She was saying, we need trans people. We love trans people. We need trans people. Trans people belong here. We need trans... That's what she was saying, right? So if you couldn't hear it, that's what you were missing. It's not that it's Trigglypuff. Like, Trigglypuff was a university graduate, a student. Now, some people would say that is not a child and that is an adult, but I would correct you with the fact that universities, especially in the United States, do their darndest in order to infantilize their clientele. Like, everything they do is to make students feel like children. And that's because children follow orders. They listen to their parents. They listen to the nanny. So that's the whole shtick. But this is actually a representative. Like, she's in the Senate. She's a politician. She makes laws that you have to follow or go to prison. They like repeating themselves compulsively. It's kind of like mind over matter. I guess like it's like in one of those sci-fi shows where if you... Oh, you know, it's kind of like the orcs in Warhammer 40k. Where if they believe that red makes it go faster, then it actually goes faster. And if they believe that the yellow bomb explodes harder, right? So it's kind of like that. Like, they will believe something really hard. And if they mention it enough times, they will it into existence. I think it's like a modern form of prayer. It's kind of like that, you know? Like, if you know some radical Christians, like, I'm not saying like modern, no, like really... God warrior types, right? Like, they would pray really, really hard, sometimes even for something bad to happen. Like, they would pray that you would lose your job or something. But they would pray really, really hard, and they would just, like, repeat the same thing over and over again, like, hoping that if they repeat it enough times, it becomes reality. And that's pretty much what's happening, right? Like, this is the modern version of that. If you want to hear the article, then wait 10 more minutes. I usually start reading the article after 30 minutes of the stream. Leftists call it manifestation? Probably. I don't know. It's just like I noticed it. It's not about trans people or anything. Like, I noticed it time and time again. Like, they will say something over and over in the hopes that, I don't know, like, something will happen, I guess, if you repeat it that one more extra time. Midwest Finest, thank you for the $9.99. Midwest Finest gave me $300 last month. Holy shit. Midwestern cannons are the boss level of cannons. I serve them all the time, especially during cheer season. See, I like the thing is, in Romania we do not have this specimen. I once used the word cannon, and immediately like some white nationalist types came up on Twitter and told me it's like, you're not supposed to use cannon because it's a slur against white people. And I'm like, dude, if I was like into this type of identity politics, like the first thing I do would be to clean the house, you know? It's like, they should be shamed. Like, it's not normal to behave in that manner. Like, it's not acceptable. It shouldn't be okay. You should have higher standards, right? Like, shaming is good, by the way. Like, when you're a kid, when you're a child, and you do something bad, like, you know, you get out of the house and you have like a big stain of coffee. And people shame you. It's like, dude, you have stained clothes. Like, what are you doing, right? So you get the public stigma, and then you learn that when you go outside, you should be more presentable. Like, the shame is good to shape you into an actual, decent human being. Now, Some people don't have that education at home, so they need to be shamed later on in life. But it's okay. They can still learn. Being a Karen is not something that's to be celebrated, to be commended. It's no. I mean, by the way, before Karen, it used to be soccer mom. Like moral busybody. I mean, there are other ways you can describe the phenomenon, but it is something that's not to be proud of. Like something that you shouldn't aspire towards. No one likes a Karen. I want to speak with the manager and ruin this person's life because my chocolate wasn't hot enough. Thank you, Don there, for the 5 Polish latte, and thank you, American Outlier, for the $10. The NPC meme is strong in the black community. Says, it's really interesting, like, when you criticize the African American community because the YouTube moderator doesn't know that you're black, especially when you have an avatar that's white. You're going to get me into trouble, but you know what? Totally worth it. The black community claim they don't like white people, but always seek validation from the liberals. My family reunion in July, and I will see if they get that updated on my racism. It's interesting because you keep threatening me with that family reunion. Like, I'm really curious how it goes, but the NPC meme used to exist before it was called an NPC meme. Like, what's really funny is that the moment it was said, I will not shave, Bowcraft. Shut the fuck up. If I shave, I would not get your $1.99. Before the NPC meme, and this actually surprised me. So when it comes out, the mainstream media says that it's dehumanizing language. They were trying to push social media to ban it. And I think on Twitter, like, people actually did get banned a while if you called a journalist an NPC. Like, it really upset them. Like, it really triggered them hard. But it turns out that the NPC meme actually existed before. It was called Marionette Man, right? So a marionette, I'm pretty sure most people know, but in case you don't, is this doll that is tied on strings. And it dances based on how the puppeteer moves his hand. That's a marionette. So a marionette man is a person without free will, without the ability of thinking for themselves, but they dance on the tune of how the person that's holding the strings pulls their finger. I mean, I was like really bewildered because, like, okay, so you're telling me that the phenomenon of marionette men existed. And like, if you think about it, they did. Like, think about during the Bush era. Right? Like, we need to invade Iraq because weapons of mass destruction. And you're thinking about it and you're like, what? It's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, why aren't you invading North Korea then? Like, here you have North Korea that's like, hey, we got nukes. Like, oh, everyone, we have the nukes. And like that, they don't do anything about that. But like Iraq, really? So during that time, you had people that were patriotic, and they would support everything, including the Patriot Act, and like anything that the television would tell them, they would just yes. No, Pinocchio was not a marionette, believe it or not. Pinocchio could actually move for himself. I don't think like Pinocchio even had strings at one point. Thin soldier used to be a term for the same thing. Let me show you something. Like, a lot of people don't know, you know, because we have so much social justice that a lot of people have forgotten. Like, usually when I talk about when I talk about like Christians being completely crazy and I'm talking about like the fundamental ones, you know, like because obviously not all, but there used to be like the same way like we have social justice activists now. You had like people that were obsessed with religion, let's put it like that. And I want to show you how bad it used to get. Now, again, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the audio, but you don't need to. You can just see the images. The images speak for themselves. So look at it. They're bringing like this cardboard of George W. Bush in front of all these children.
We're going to welcome Mr. President now.
We're going to welcome Mr. President now.
Talk to him.
Talk to him.
Welcome President Bush.
Welcome, President Bush.
Bush.
See, I'm not an expert on these things, but I would consider this to be idolatry. I mean, even if it's not, you're literally walking that line. It's how YouTube would say, gray area, brushing against the TOS. That's how YouTube calls it. Brushing against the TOS. So you're not violating, but you're really damn close.
Here. I want you to bless him.
They're going to bless the president now.
Speak a blessing to him. Would you do that? Raise your hand to speak a blessing to him.
Freaking blessing.
Do some warfare over him.
Do some warfare over it? I don't know what that is.
Some more.
Arabakashik abatoma somarabaya. What is that? Arabakashik abato somarabaya. What? Satolo kalabahaya?
Some more.
Arabakashik satokolo marabahaya. I think.
He has surrounded himself with spirit-filled people.
Right? So I just want to point out that what you're seeing today is just a diverse ideology, but it maintains some of the same vibes that used to be part of American politics. V, my family thinks in terms of us, we, and them. I ain't a commie, and I'd upset them that I don't follow. Your family dinner must be really interesting. Do you not have an ally there? Like, do you not have a family member that you can understand with and, you know, like, form a common ground? Inshallah, El Shahadai. Ah, I see. It's gibberish. She's making it up. Go the fuck out. I can't make it up like her. Like she would be a really good cast in a movie where she gets to speak some alien language if she's making it up. She casted the spell, blessed creature of your choice within range. Whenever a target makes an attack roll or saving throw before the spell ends, the target can roll a d4. See, that wouldn't work because that wasn't a target. Like, it was an inanimate object. It's gibberish that sounds vaguely Middle Eastern. It doesn't even sound Middle Eastern. Arabakashik Sotarabahaya. Arabakashik. Middle Eastern is with ch. It's like all the chrem. You know, it's kind of like that. Right? Like it's kind of like that. That's more Middle Eastern. It's not Arabakashik. No. It's bullshit. In my church, whenever someone spoke in tongues like that, someone else would interpret it, and they would always talk about Israel. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, who cares about Israel? People who follow the commandments care about Israel. So, believe it or not, like, I actually looked into this, right? Like, why are so many right-wingers trying to... Well, not trying. Like why are so many right-wingers in the United States? And we're talking about in the past, not even now. they put so much emphasis on Jewishness and Israel. And the reason I was curious is because when you look at the population of Jewish people in the U.S., it's not that big. But apparently, the reason for it is that the evangelicals, right? So like the same people that you saw with the Bush plaque, the more radical and the ones that literally believe. I mean, not that they believe that there is a God and there is a devil. No, but like they believe everything in the Bible. They need to fulfill the prophecy. And the prophecy is that in order to get the rapture, so that the people that are the faithful rise to heaven, Israel needs to belong to the Jewish people, right? So like they're really invested into that. And you have like documentaries with evangelicals going in Israel and saying like these are the plains of Armageddon and this is where Jesus is going to come and he's going to fight the Satan and blah blah blah. Like there were people, I don't know how many are now, but like back in the day when I was young, there were a lot of them apparently that legitimately believed that. So it's like, because the thing is, like, I'm an Orthodox and even Orthodox Christians, like, sure, we believe the Bible and everything, but not to that minute detail, to the point where, like, we must fulfill the biblical prophecy. The moment is upon us. The stars are aligning. Like, that's a little bit, But it is what it is. I mean, I guess, like, theoretically they're right. It's a prophecy in the Bible that is going to be fulfilled in order to go to the last part, to advance to the final level. V is more accurate. Modern Hebrew has shashe sound, that low accent. Oh, I see. Skyrim belongs to the North. When I was playing Skyrim, and it's like Skyrim belongs to the Nords, wasn't there like another empire and other threats? Like if the Nords managed to take away their province, then they would have to face like stronger armies and shit? Yeah, anyway. The Bible says if you ask God, he will throw a mountain into the ocean. Well, it depends, right? Like, the thing with the Bible is the interpretations. Like, throw a mountain into the ocean, like, what does that mean? And they will say, well, it's not literal. So, like, if you have the ocean just swallowing, or if you have a volcano exploding and the island sinks into the ocean, it's like, well, God did it. Jesus America, now, how much money? I keep asking, like, how much do you have? V, you are asking for too much. 60 plus years of social engineering. Lucky for me, I woke up now and I saw what Thomas Sowell gave up talking in public. I'm on the Scott Adams train. I wish no hurt on people, but they get what they vote for, and I don't care. My God, like the transformation with Scott Adams was very interesting. What I found interesting about Scott Adams is that no one tried to tackle his point at all. Like no one even just they wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. The only thing they would say, yeah, we're not going to do business with him. Like everyone, like, we don't want to talk with him. No. But like no one actually touched what he was saying, and what he was saying is like he was quoting a statistic, if I remember correctly. But it is what it is. So let's get to the reading of the article. I have lockdown nostalgia, and I'm not alone. The Times is not really a publication that I would think is going to do clickbait, yet here we are. I recently made plans to meet my best friend for a drink in 2 months' time. It was the first date we could both do. Not because our diaries are so full, but because we are trying to keep them empty. So this is a introvert, right? Like a person that doesn't want to socialize if you're trying to keep your diary empty. I started limiting nights out for cost of living related reasons, but socializing more than a couple of evenings per week now leaves me tired and a bit anxious. I miss my husbando and my children. My bum dent on sofa. I don't sound much fun to hang around with anyway, do I? No, but you also don't sound like the type of person that should be giving life advice to people in the Times. It's not just me. I had several conversations recently at parties. Ironically, though, that confirmed what the guilty little voice in my head has been whispering for some time. For many people, the enforced planlessness of lockdown was actually quite nice. Who the fuck are you hanging around, women? I generally do not understand. Like, the lockdown, the problem with it was that it was enforced. But if you want to stay at home, that's always an option. Like, no one is dragging you out of your house at gunpoint, right? Like, if you want to stay in the pod, you can stay in the pod. That's fine. It's a privilege to think this way, I know. For those who lost relatives and livelihoods, lockdown was beyond awful. It was beyond awful for people who didn't lose anyone as well. Like, the very fact that the government has the ability to tell you to stay in your home and shut down your business and take away your livelihood is a little bit traumatizing. Even if you didn't lose anyone. It sharpened the lifestyle choices to their most intolerable. Loneliness among single people, the claustrophobia of house shares, the frustrated exhaustion of trying to work and parent simultaneously. Yet many parent friends are nostalgic for the time spent together, rather than constantly ferrying their kids between things. When the roster of weekend clubs and activities and weeknight work events, dinner and drinks paused, their marital statue ceased being ships in the night and reverted to companionship. It didn't suit everyone, but plenty of couples found they liked it. If you need to be forced by the government to spend time with your wife, I think there is something deeply wrong and concerning about your marriage. Like, imagine this, right? Like you have a couple that needs the government to lock everyone in their house so that they can spend time with their significant other. Yes, adulting is hard, I know. I do not want life advice from this person or her friends. I'm just going to say this now. Like, it's just like everything she says sounds very bizarre to me. Even single friends I expected to be livid with me for mentioning the L word said that they are wistful for their time that didn't come with the pleasure to be used efficiently or productively. In this age, constant omni-channel communication, maintaining friendships can be like a second job. Holy shit, man. Holy fucking shit. You know, like, if you're an adult, if you don't want to spend time with people, don't spend time with people. If you want to spend time, then do spend time. Like, this notion. I don't know, like, maybe it's the gender difference. Like, because I'm a man and I just, you know, apparently women are legitimately shocked by this. Like, I spoke with several women and they're shocked that you can have men that didn't speak with each other for 4 years, and then when they talk with each other, they're talking as if they haven't spoken since yesterday. And women are baffled by this. But it's true, though. Like, yesterday, there was an old subscriber of mine that I used to talk with, contacts me on Twitter, and we're talking like, you know, nothing happened within the last couple of years. And we've always been talking. But apparently, like, no, like, women are different. Like, if you don't speak with someone for the long term, they think that you hate them and then they get upset. It's like a lack of respect. It's so fucking weird. The school-age kids I know remember lockdown, the sunny one anyway, with something close to fondness. Though it was tough for older teens, younger ones enjoyed walking the dog, reading, and making up. Well, I guess you're not in Britain, because in Britain they would fine you for walking the dog, but yeah, you know, I don't give a shit what children thought about the lockdowns. Oh my fucking god, they get to stay home for a year. Oh, the horror. Yeah, the problem is the people that had jobs, lady. Right? So if you have a job, and all of a sudden you can't go, and you're fired because the restaurant shut down, then it's not really nice, is it? And secondly, it's also the people that were teenagers, right? Like, especially if you're at the time where you need to go out and date and find a significant other, like, being locked up indoors is not entertaining, and it's probably not psychologically healthy as well. As the youngest in my family, who always had to go to bed first, oh my god, stuck in the childhood years, I have an acute sense of FOMO, fear of missing out. That lockdown, for the first time ever, rendered quiet, even if many aspects were pretty grim. That side of it was something close to bliss. Simply getting through the do list of my own existence without worrying that other people were more interesting, more fun, and more successful. Fucking hell. Okay, so the reason this person is having these issues is because instead of, like, living life for herself, she lives life for others. Why the fuck do you care what other people are doing? Like, seriously, no, like, this is something that I noticed a lot of ladies are suffering from, and even my wife, you know, like, she comes home and it's like, oh, well, so I did this at work, and it's like, well, what do other people think? I mean, I don't give a shit. You know, like, seriously, like, my wife is saying that she went to this symposium, and she's going to get more points, because, like, when you're accumulating points when you're doing your residency, and then based on how many points you have, like, you get a better resume. So she's saying, like, she went to this symposium and none of her other colleagues went. And she's going to look as if, you know, she's a tryhard. And then it was like, she doesn't want to wear expensive clothing because, like, one of her colleagues is poor. And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, you're not wearing expensive clothing, right? Because, like, there are far more expensive clothing than you have. But secondly, Nani? Like I'm really struggling to understand. I'm trying, but apparently this lady that's writing the article is as well. You know, it's like caring about what other people think. Like, of course, you know, if you shit your pants, then you should care about what other people think. But like, there are other things where you literally shouldn't care. It's like, oh, other people are having fun. I'm not having fun. What? Who cares? Vice versa as well. The opposite of fear of missing out is joy of missing out. Yes, literally, I have the joy of missing out. Do you know that my YouTube manager told me to gate my content so that you guys will have the fear of missing out, so that you would sign up for a membership to see my content earlier? And I looked at him bewildered and aghast. It's like, what? As Janice Turner has written so well on these pages, we are all still coming to terms with what went through in 2020, and there is a certain pressure to perform normal again. But I'm determined to keep hold of some of those planlessness. It is empty time. I now realize that keeps me feeling topped up. I genuinely like, you know, like when I was a teenager, and my mom was actually desperate about this. I stayed at home and I played a lot of World of Warcraft. My parents were desperate. It's like, why don't you go out? Why don't you speak with people? Why don't you... I don't need to. I'm happy. Leave me the fuck alone. And look how great I ended up being. I didn't care about other people. Meanwhile, other people that grew up with me ended up in prison. And I stood home playing World of Warcraft. Imagine how much I missed. Great British sell-off. Are you a vintrepreneur? Once you're familiar with them, you notice them everywhere. A snaking queue of people in the supermarket or newsagent, weighed down by paddlers. They are selling on the second-hand app Vinted. They are similar since blah blah blah. What a shame that instead of selling off Royal Mail in 2014, those in charge during the coalition years didn't see the opportunities in expanding into the sorts of delivery services. Imagine if all the parcels and profits flying around in these vans were being delivered by properly paid posties. Yeah, so basically what she's talking about is that there is a new economy. Which is basically like people making these... I don't even know how to put it. Like hand shift things. Like you make like a little hand shift made earring. You make like a little toy with your hands and you sell that off, right? So there's a lot of people that after the pandemic hit and they were from the corporate environment, they started doing like all of these hand trade crap, and they're selling it, and they literally think that this will last forever. And I keep telling them that the only reason you're selling them is because people have money doing actual things, right? But the moment those people don't have money, you're not going to have your business anymore. It makes fucking sense. Like, if you're alone on an island and you do origami, you know, origami is nice, and sure, you can sell them. But if you're alone on an island and you have, like, some other people that are shipwrecked there, how much origami are you going to sell? Like, people want food, people want shelter, people want the actual things that matter. You know? And once they have all of those, and they settle down, and, like, the island is actually functioning, and, you know, they have, like, okay, then maybe they will want your origami. But you're going to be like on literally the bottom of the list, you know? It's not sustainable, as the left likes to put it. It's called Esti. Oh my god, it's got a name. Oh shit. Hug the man you love. A recent post from on Instagram. Many mental health experts rolls eyes. Oh, I'm rolling my eyes as well. Like if I'm going to talk about the mental health expert, you know which is the best one? An Orthodox priest. Not necessarily Orthodox priest. You can go to a rabbi if you want. Any person that's a member of a cloth. Just don't go to the Catholic ones with the QR codes. But you can go to an imam, a rabbi. I don't care. You know, go to one of them. They will give you much better advice than a mental health expert. And I will tell you why. Okay? So if you go to tell your sins to a priest, they will give you advice, you know? You can be like, okay, so I'm feeling depressed. Why the fuck are you depressed? You know, like they will actually talk to you like a normal person. It's not like reading from a script. Why? Because they have dealt with that issue before. They have spoke with like thousands of other people that came with them with the same fucking issue. And they know how to talk with people. Meanwhile, if you look at the health expert, they make money the more you talk with them. So they want like a recurring paying thing, right? Like they want you to keep coming back. They don't want you to like fix the issue and stop coming. Because they don't make money that way. Meanwhile, if you go to an actual member of the club, they don't make money if you come to them. You're probably annoying them. They don't want to see you again. They want to give you some good advice. So you fix your issue and fuck off. And, you know, like, I had subscribers because I told them about this. And I'm an atheist. Like, I'm not telling people to go to a religion. This is why I'm telling them, like, pick whatever confession you want. Just, you know, go to the West Borough Baptist Church. Go to, like, some woke idea. I don't care. Okay? As long as it's a member of a club and you talk with them, you're going to see that you're going to feel better. And some people, atheists as well, listen to me and they're like, holy shit, V, you were right. And I'm like, of course I was right. Duh. I had one guy went to a rabbi. He's an atheist. Went to a rabbi, the rabbi gave him advice. And I'm like, okay. See? Was a bizarre conversation. I had fun reading about it. Where's my QR code? Forgot it. At home. I'd never buy origami. I wouldn't buy it either. I would actually learn how to do it. Thank you, CCDSAH. If you want to know, like mental advice, especially like if you go to the mental health experts from the West, holy fucking shit. They will not even say that you have like a mental issue. They will say neurodivergent. Like they're going to cuddle your face. Like I'm sorry, you know, like I never liked the nice teacher. Like the nice teacher syndrome is something that was harder to me. I like the Snape type of teachers, the one that were harsh and they would tell you things how they are. That's when my mom had cancer, I was actually angry at the doctor because like the doctor told me it's like, well, I can't give you the diagnostic now. Why don't you come over my place tomorrow at 4 p.m. And I was like, motherfucker, like I'm a doctor too. I know what's happening. Like tell me what stage is it. Oh, no, not now, not through the phone. Okay, so it's stage 3, right? And he's like, yeah. Then why the fuck can't you tell it to me? Holy shit. But it's like, is this thing, you know? Like, I genuinely, like, wanna... I want someone that tells it to me the way it is. I don't like pussyfooting around the issue. I don't like, oh, well, let's call it something. No, like, okay, so you have, like, something that is preventing you from having a normal life. Okay, so you have an issue. Okay, that's pathogenic then. If you have something that's preventing you from having like a day-to-day life, like for example, chronic masturbation, right? Like masturbating is normal. Everyone does it. But if you do it all the time and you're late for work, and okay, that's a mental illness. It needs to be treated. Like it's fine, okay? Like first you diagnose it, like you understand there's a problem, right? Like being an alcoholic. Okay, that's a mental illness. Like you are dependent on alcohol. First you need to understand it. Right, but if you're not even going to acknowledge it, if you're not going to even understand it, you're like, well, it's actually neurodivergent. Like, it's a way of being in society depending on alcohol, you know? It's normal to spend all your money on booze and then go home and argue with your wife. It's perfectly normal. It's neurodivergent. It's a new way of being. Like, shut the fuck up. The problem is that it's a business to them. Yes, like, it is a business. So, like, this is why when you go to a member of the church, whatever church that is, doesn't have to be Catholic, doesn't have to be Orthodox, whatever. They actually know how to deal with this shit. Did you know how many drunken people the priests see every day? Like, they already know the talk. And then they're going to be very harsh about it. They're going to tell you exactly what your problem is and how to fix it. Will I be your Romanian doctor? No. Alcohol diversity, yes. Pepsi-aholic. Yeah, no, literally, I know I have a problem with Pepsi. I genuinely know. Like, people tell you, yes. Are you going to fix it? No. Why? Don't wanna. But I would be angry if someone comes to me, it's like, well, actually, you know, you drinking Pepsi is not a problem, you know? Like just because you take so much sugar and it's like, it's ruining your stomach and shit, like, that's fine. Like, I would hate that person. You know, at least be honest with me. Yes, I know I have a problem. I just don't want to fix it. Came out with nicotine addiction back when we were allowed to smoke on the premise. It is what it is. But yeah, so apparently this lady rolls eyes at mental health experts. If you want to change the world, hug your sons and not the lame little sidearm hugs. Having had a daughter first and then a son, I am often struck by how much more physical affection he seems to need. My son, a lockdown baby, often breaks off what he is doing for big squeezes, nozzles, and close-ups. Adoring him has made me realize how many generations of men have been failed by the notion that shows of love and affection are for weak people. The fuck are you talking about? Like, seriously. Love and affection are for weak people. Who the fuck... Jesus fucking Christ. Like, every single parent that I know, at least here in Romania, like, loves their sons. Like, no one is like, oh, well, I'm not going to give any love and affection to my son because love are for weak people. When did she hear that, to be honest? So fucking bizarre. I thought the 20 years and in the long run students appreciate honesty much more than mollycoddling. Yes. Like when I was a kid, I was capable of discerning fact from fiction. But you know, like, I will tell you this. The idea that, like, men shouldn't be coddled. What is that? What is that? You know, like, what are the Kratoses of the world? I would want to have a father like Kratos. What is that? Because literally, even if a woman were to say, like, oh, you know, like, men need to be a little bit more silent, they need to internalize, more stoic. I want more stoicism from a man. Like, most women do want that, but they're not allowed to say it because of ideology. But, like, what are those women? What are the people that, like, I need stoicism? I want the man, you know, like, when things are tough, he doesn't cry like a little bitch, like, because that scares me. Like, I want him to be quiet and find solutions, so things become easier. What are those? Because I would like that. American Outlier, thank you for the $10. By the way, the subject of Christianity, the Bushes were carpet baggers from Connecticut to Texas. Basically, Republican in names only. The Mitt Romney type. He signed the No Child Left Behind. Thanks, Bush. Make slow even slower. Yeah. No, I'm aware of the American politics. But, like, what I wanted to say is that how easy it is to use whatever ideology you want in order to just get people to behave in that particular manner, which is moral busybodying. Anyway, right, I need to go make 2 more videos on my other channel. So, thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you for watching. And as usual, I will see you guys later. Take care.